Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Happy Monday morning. TGIM, 16th of March. Ides of March were yesterday. Interesting how the Fed came out with that bazooka, bear stock Armageddon, all that kind of talk over the weekend. Seems a bit odd that they would act on a Sunday, but nonetheless they did. Lots of overnight action. People were expecting the stock market was the futures were lock limit down. And interestingly enough, actually, I noticed politicians were speaking sort of on the open this morning, and things sort of calmed down. So wondering whether maybe, of course, the public is panic selling, panic dumping. We're at the lows. We saw the gold really come off hard overnight. But things seem to be settling down a little bit more. I did do a very lengthy broiler chicken show yesterday. Talked lots about a Wall Street Week production, so check that out, the Broiler Chicken Show for the links. Really think everybody should watch that. Really good sort of view of what the higher-ups, the 1%, are thinking about this market right now, where they think it's going and what's needed. What I'm really hearing actually a lot is monetary policy isn't the solution to any of this. It has to be fiscal. And interestingly enough, because this is a sickness, this is the kind of thing where politicians, they won't act unless they see that it's not going to affect their re-election prospects. So if all of the public is clamoring for stimulus programs, healthcare oriented because of these sicknesses, they might actually be able to bang through a big fiscal policy program, which of course is more debt. That's going to probably cause more printing of currency, and that should ultimately help all the crypto enthusiasts in our audience. But it's just not today, and we have to wait till the crisis settles down. That the higher ups have said, all right, enough is enough, na levels, all that kind of talk. Then we'll know that the next cycle is going to begin. For now, we do have celestial events coming up here that I think are interesting markers. I've seen a lot of different societies also say that they're basically going to shut their systems down until the end of March, beginning of April. I find it fascinating. That corresponds exactly with that celestial event. So in a weird sort of way, it's not so much, ironically enough, that just everybody going on a quarantine vacation, quarantine. I don't know what we want to call it. But the problem here is that this world is swimming in its eyeballs in debt. And unfortunately, in that environment, that means economies must grow. They must make the VIC, or VIG, or whatever the mafiosos call that. And if the loan sharks don't get their interest payments, that's when all hell breaks loose. And that's sort of, we have to watch the bond market. The bond market started to crack there on Friday as the loan sharks were starting to get a little upset that the economy wasn't going to grow and people were going to default on payments and stuff. And then you noticed over the weekend the Fed came out and said, here's all the liquidity you want. And now we're getting all these programs about we're going to inject growth. We're going to inject growth. So, and companies that are subject to default, they're going to get all the loans that they need to make sure that they can make their payments, which drives them further into debt, and the situation just gets worse. But anyway, that's the world that we live in. Unfortunately, in this kind of environment, not a hell of a lot of new trades to talk about. If anything, well, the general message is I'm probably just going to be treading water until the end of the month here. Let bottoms, if they are going to actually bottom, let these bottoms come in and form, and with divergence and location, structure, blah, blah, blah. But what I am doing right now is I'm building my shopping list. So, on a daily basis, I've been going through. I showed you a bank stock that caters to the crypto industry on Friday. Here are a couple companies that we've been really interested in. I was super interested in 3D Systems last summer, and I missed this rally here, and I was real pissed off at myself for that. But notice that basically this meltdown has now erased that entire rally, so I'm back hunting for W's and reasons to get long this 3D Systems. And the interesting thing about this stock is it's been around forever, and we're just now coming back down into historical support. So, on my shopping list. And as kind of a fun side, I've already got a little bit of the that hotel REIT in my RSP from higher prices. But I'll keep an eye on that for any sort of signs of bottoms, and it's in my retirement account, so it really doesn't make sense selling it at a loss. It's it's a REIT of a whole bunch of hotels. So at worst, they're going to suspend distributions here for maybe a few months. But I mean, I don't have any worry about them going out of business. And if anything, if I start seeing W's in that, I'll be buying. But, as another example in the hospitality industry, obviously the cruise lines have gotten absolutely destroyed. So this one in particular, Carnival's was $70. It's now $15 a share. There's no signs of bottoms yet. But, 70 down to 15, 50% rule is 85 divided by 2 sounds to be about 42.5. So is there a trade for me to consider going from 14, 15 bucks back to 40, 50 bucks? I'm not looking for new highs here. I'll just look for that 50% bounce. I think there's probably pretty good odds. So I am building my shopping list, but as you can see, there are no W's here yet. So we just got to cool our jets. And that's really the theme right across the stock market. They're just throwing the baby out with the bathwater right now. Whether it be crypto, whether it be stocks, whether it be gold, it's just a mass panic liquidation that's going on right now. I suppose we can see that to a certain degree with the US dollar index. And if anything, hearing the Fed taking basically interest rates to zero, saying you have all the quantitative easing you want, you should have expected the US dollar to come off a big chunk. So the fact that it did come off initially and dump, but now has actually come back a bit, means even in the face of all that liquidity, they're still coming into the US dollar here and not really willing to buy international currencies. And for whatever it's worth, TRI is gets paid in U.S. dollars, and I've kept all my money in U.S. dollars. I told you I'm long U.S. dollars. I do not like the Canadian dollar here at all, and I'm kind of just happy just to sit in U.S. dollars, to be honest with you. Risk on, risk off. Stock market, of course, like we said, it hit some pretty key objectives. And I think it was at this point that the higher up said, okay, oh shit, we better start doing something here. And they're trying desperately to put some sort of bottom in the market here. My hunch is this will take right through the end of the month. There isn't a hurry to call bottoms just yet, but if we start seeing, signs of reversal, keep in mind these are weekly charts. If we go back to the daily, you can see it's very choppy in here, and I wouldn't be in a big hurry to call a bottom just yet, but it is interesting. You can see they're trying desperately to put some sort of bottom in the oil market, but there are no bottoms there. And remember, I'm not a commodity bull right now. I won't be for the next 15 years, so I don't really have any interest in investing in oil. The interesting thing about this is natural gas stocks do look good here, and they usually do pretty well during recessions. So I can understand natural gas interest. There is actually, maybe tomorrow I'll talk to you about one natural gas utility company here in Canada that I'm interested in. But investing in oil, and what I found really interesting is, the whole sort of talk of why the Russia-Saudi thing happened. Again, go back and watch that video that I suggested everybody in the Broiler Chickens yesterday watch. I do believe that this is not about Saudi Arabia and Russia. This is about Saudi Arabia and Russia looking at the United States and trying to put the shale oil business out of business. And I think to a certain degree they're going to get exactly what they want. because, below $40-50 production, a lot of North American oil production just doesn't make sense. So I also do find it really interesting that the major oil companies are fairly flush, but they're not calling themselves oil companies anymore. And I don't think they're going to want to come to the rescue of the shale people that are overly leveraged. They are now calling themselves energy companies, and they're actually not really investing in new oil projects. So very tough to make the argument in my eyes to be an oil bull here, regardless of how low they take the price. Bond market did put in that fractal. We have been hearing a lot of concerns about the bond market. Now, the interesting thing about this is a scenario. Bond prices are high. So that means interest rates are low. Everybody's clamoring, we got to see some growth, some sort of inflation. The market is like runaway deflation right now. How can we tell? I like to use market-based sentiments to tell me. Proxies, and this is by far the best market-based proxy I've ever seen for inflation deflation. And deflation is reigning supreme. So, ironically enough, in that kind of environment, this whole idea, if you watch that video and the higher ups, BlackRock Capital, all those kind of people are saying, we need fiscal stimulus. The answer is not monetary policy, it's fiscal policy. So, and health concerns get people to forget about debt. So we could, and it wouldn't surprise me, the end of March, beginning of April, a pivot comes in on the risk assets in the market because we have this coordinated event globally to governments to actually come in and step in and actually start doing things like creating like mobile hospitals. There is a gentleman who was speaking this morning. I think he's the governor of New York, and he's saying, look, we need the military to come in. We need something like New York State needs something like 700,000 hospital beds. And he said right now we have about 50,000 because we are a private healthcare system in the U.S., and these private healthcare systems can't run over capacity. So there's no way in hell they're going to carry any more capacity than they need because they are profit driven. We are in a situation now where we don't have capacity, and he's actually pleading for the military to come in, which is a little scary because usually the worst military coups are when the military doesn't have to fire a bullet and they can just walk in and take over. We could have a scenario like this. It wouldn't surprise me if we have martial law declared. We have some members in Spain right now who are saying that basically it's martial law in Spain. He's a big surfer, and he's saying if you're a foreigner and you're caught surfing now in Spain, it's something like a $1,500 fine. It's ridiculous. So anyway, it is what it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out some sort of massive fiscal stimulus program which will knock the shit out of the bonds, right? And actually sort of bring about my original thesis about higher interest rates, which puts a floor in the stock market and puts a floor in, risk assets, Bitcoin, same sort of thing. And interestingly enough, it looks like they are discounting the gold now. I mean, it is happening. There's no doubt about it. If anything, what I'm worried about for the gold bugs is if the oil does actually turn and bottom here, that's going to be even worse environment for the gold. But what I think might happen here in a weird sort of way is you might actually have gold play catch up to the bonds. Maybe the bonds swoon a bit and the gold actually works its way back up. But who knows? That's total conjecture. Talk to you a little bit about building my shopping list in the stock market. I think this is a great idea. We have a bunch of blue chip stocks. Like I said, there's Carnival Cruise Lines. There's some utilities, some REITs I'm interested in. We're also, I think, now is an opportunity if you ever wanted to invest in something like a Disney, which is a very, very expensive stock. But obviously they're going to give Netflix a real run for their money. And ironically enough, their online services are probably going to get a huge injection of subscribers through all this. So taking a real good look at a stock like Disney in here actually I think isn't a bad idea. And I mean, the charts speak. Basically, you come in, you think about investing in a company like Disney right now. Basically, that's like they're giving you the past, 4 years for free. And the irony of it all, and this is just TA 101. I mean, just looking at this, we all know these gaps are all going to be filled into the upside. So I don't know, buying a stock in the 90s and looking to sell it in the 130s. I mean, geez, an options trades now starts to look really attractive here. But again, when we're talking about the stock market, there is nothing I am buying today. Everything's on just the shopping list, and we're just waiting for setups. And really, that's the same thing with Bitcoin. So, like I said, I spent a couple hours yesterday talking corn, so we don't really need to go into too much more depth on this. I actually like the idea of traders coming in and buying against these lows and looking for 50% bounces. That to me actually looks like a trader's trade. I will say that what I think's happening here over the short term is that the corn's trying to establish a range, and I was actually pretty impressed that stock futures were like lock limit down, end of the world, and Bitcoin was down, but it was only just flirting with previous lows. So I think, if we look at this chart right now, we can actually see, okay, well, we've actually got a trading range now established. 6 Gs on the upside and about 4 Gs on the downside. And interestingly enough, I had sort of previously drawn candle body lows, awesome trade location. What makes you really sick to your stomach is you pull up the chart and you see that, oh, gee whiz. Overnight, they just brought the market down into good old Mountain Man. This guy's such a son of a bitch, man. He makes money everywhere. And the funny thing is, I'm sure he is not on BitMEX. But this is a classic range traders trade. You sell against the top end of the range, red boxes. You buy against the bottom end of the range, green boxes. So, maybe we're establishing a nice range here. This is obviously lower time frame charts, so lower time frame players. Nothing really higher time frame definitive here. And really, for 90% of the world, this is the very slick day trader. You want to learn how to be that kind of trader, that's fine. We can set you up to be a day trader. We do it all the time. In fact, the Top Step Trader people, the old prop firm that I worked at, they run a pre-market video to prep everybody, and half the people in the video call this morning were TRI people. It was so funny. Hey, Brad. Hey, Bob. Hey, Alex. And everybody's like, hey, Brian, and stuff. And the Top Step people are like, what the fuck's going on over there? So, you want to be a day trader? We can build you up to be a day trader. It's up to you. But anyway, the point of the matter here is most of you want to be, we've got algo traders on the site now that are just ripping the market. But most of the YouTube audience, people like in the public, the general message I think is just simply look at the whole market's kind of gone wonky here. I'm trying to find the damn chart I wanted to show you. Maybe I should find the chart before I start talking. Well, I suppose this is doable. We've come down into higher time frame trade locations against original W's. The last W setup failed, right? And if you're a trader, where you got to respect that. We've come down into a new trade location. We talked about candle bodies as potential trade location for those lower time frame players. Fine. Higher time frame players really were a trading range. And what I would like to see for this to actually be a solid bottom is I'd like to see the indicators go into divergence. Actually show me that the price of this asset is actually a lot stronger than what you're seeing at a price itself. So what does that look like? This kind of situation where the indicators, look at RSI, beautiful higher lows and higher highs, and yet price was really going nowhere here. Probably not the best example of divergence right there, but we did have little. This is a pretty good one. You see how price was working its way lower there. RSI is working higher. MACD was a very steep one. So that's what I want to see here for me to actually start saying, yep, there's a bottom. So you can see we just made a new low. RSI just made a new low. There aren't any W's anywhere in sight here. We just got to give this time. And like I said, probably the best reference, I usually expect the crypto market to rally about a month ahead of the halvening. But I do like the idea that that first week of April, there is the 5th, 6th. I like the idea of this thing starting its march higher, somewhere around here. So it's going to take some time, no doubt about it. Just hurry up and sit on your hands. And all three of them, same thing. You see, actually Litecoin starting to form some divergence here. So that's good to see. But Ethereum, nothing there yet. And of course, like I said, on the corn, nothing. Finish off this free video, just quick chat about alts. As you can see, nothing's really popping here. It's all very sideways. Some, names have come back down, right? And actually, the interesting thing that I wanted to show you guys was some of the high flyers. There's that, I think his name's Crypto Chico. He was all jazzed about things like Link and this. I don't know whether he liked this Tezos or not. But in essence, get everybody, if you want to ride his coattails on his ideas, the markets are saying, here is your buying window. So, I might even just go and pick up some of both of these because I don't have either of them. And I hear him going on about how wonderful these stories are. Well, everything just went on sale. And, that's the irony of this business, right? They always say, trading is the only business when stuff goes on sale, nobody wants to buy it. And this is probably a really good example. We were also posting in the lounge this morning. The public's coming, calling of a lot of our OGs, right? And going, okay, is now the time to buy? Is now the time to buy? And their knee-jerk response to every inquiry, and I love this, is perfect, is they say, well, actually, the time to buy, you probably won't want to buy. So maybe we have to wait till you get to that point. I don't know. But that's probably a good example, right? The public's probably looking at these right now and going, oh, fuck, I don't want to own these things. And the irony of it all is they're actually now coming back into levels that Brian can actually consider buying. So food for thought. Like I said, building our shopping list. This is a great time. I tell you, the public, this is the perfect time to work on your self-education. Get good at the process. I told everybody in the daily brief today, you don't have to spend a damn penny in this market to practice. What does the setup look like? Can I pull the trigger when the criteria comes in? Am I taking appropriate risk? Blah, 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 blah. So don't let this time where the market itself, and you're not going to be actually spending any real money in the market, don't let this time slip by. This time is extremely valuable. And we were doing things like, just any of these stocks. It doesn't really matter. Let's pick one. We'll take this pot stock. Go back in time, and clearly it's a bear now. Bleh. But go back in time and just start the replay function. I don't know. Let's say right. And actually, I think I already did this on another one, didn't I? But let's start right there. All right. Well, do I have signs of divergence? Do I have signs of W's? All right. And then just hit play. And it doesn't matter. You can just randomly do this. And just, okay, well, I see a potential W in. Okay, I'm going to have my buy on a stop order sitting right there. Oh, looks like I just got filled. Oh, looks like I'm doing pretty good, right? Okay, how would I move my stop? So the point of the matter here is don't let this time go by. It's extremely valuable. You don't have to trade in real time. And, of course, you can paper trade. The key here, of course, is you have to learn the process of what does a trade setup look like. What is appropriate risk management? How do I log my trades? How do I journal how I'm feeling? Did I expect to see that? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I wanted to leave you off with just an idea that just because everything's going on sale, that doesn't mean I've stopped looking. And like I said, there's a couple ideas that I clearly missed the bull on the first run. Now the market's actually saying, hey, you know what? If you're interested, I'm backing up. So food for thought for you today. All right, everybody. I have no idea how long that was. Sure hope you got some value out of all that. Have yourselves a great day. Play from a position of strength. All the best. And bye for now.